There are a lot of Americans who believe that the Second Amendment to the Constitution is outdated because when the Founding Fathers were writing it, they couldn't have fathomed how powerful the weapons of modern government would be, and therefore there's no need for citizens today to be able to keep and bear arms because they have no chance of overthrowing this overarching government. However, if you take this level of thinking and apply it to other provisions of the Constitution, which as a whole was written to prevent overly powerful government, you'll see how ridiculous this is. You know what, guys? Freedom of the press is so outdated. I mean, the Founding Fathers never could have imagined that TV and media would take over and that only 4 conglomerated corporations would control all of this thanks to the government. And I mean, the United States is 46th in press freedom now, so what's the point in even bothering? Who cares about freedom of the press? Who cares about the Fourth Amendment? It's so outdated. I mean, the Founding Fathers couldn't have conceived of iPhones and the NSA and the fact that they could tap everyone's phone in the entire world, but they're doing it now, and who really cares about privacy anyway? I mean, what's done is done, and unwarranted searches and seizures in the form of raids? Who cares? I mean, no one could have anticipated how powerful those assault rifles would be, so we should just let them break down our doors whenever they want to come in. They're here to help, remember? Oh please, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution is so archaic. I mean, going through Congress to go to war, what would the president do? I mean, even though Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan were total disasters that resulted in a complete waste of taxpayer dollars and a waste of life, I mean, who cares? The idea of going through an entire body of a legislature, that is so ridiculous because terrorism, the Founding Fathers never could have predicted that. Now I know what you're thinking. The Second Amendment is different because guns, but actually, violations of these constitutional provisions alone have resulted in far more innocent deaths than any grand total of mass shooting deaths in this country. The lack of freedom of the press in America has propagandized Americans into begging for war and to being desensitized to all of the loss of human life that is inflicted by their taxpayer-funded weapons. And the fact that in this country, police can break into homes and point assault rifles at people has resulted in far more loss of innocent life every single day because police have no regard for due process of law or human life. And that the president can declare war on whatever country he wants without going through Congress, even though they probably vote yes, has resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent people over the course of decades. And all of these constitutional violations are backed up with guns, as are the violations that don't necessarily result in death. So it's time to stop quibbling about an amendment that allows people to defend themselves and start looking at the people who have full legal access to guns and what they do with them. They're called the state, and they have a monopoly on force and violence, and in the 20th century alone, the state was responsible for the deaths of 250 million people, making them the biggest mass murderers in human history. So it's time to stop rationalizing your double standard for government murder as opposed to regular murder, because they're still done with guns and it's still murder and it's still corrupt. And it's also time to start questioning the validity of a constitution or a slip of paper or any government that purports to grant you rights and freedoms. You have rights and freedoms because you are a human and they are innate to your existence. The antithesis of that is a state that seeks to control you using force and violence and guns. And it's the Constitution that got you that kind of government. So no Constitution, no slip of paper, and no government can give you freedom or security. Only you can do that, and it's time to start.